The Vikings hand the San Francisco 49ers their second loss in a row. In the final drive to try to win the game, Brock Purdy throws it right into the hands of Cameron Bynum for his second interception of the game. I believe that was the second interception within like a 5-minute span as well. So not looking too good for Brock Purdy. So I want to know, does this game say more about the 49ers or more about the Minnesota Vikings?
I think it says more about the Vikings. It was a must-win for them. So that puts them in a much better situation than they were before, and gives them a lot of confidence, I think. Looking at their schedule going ahead, they got a lot of games in their division. Division really isn't that strong this year, so who knows? They might be able to get back into some sort of playoff contention. So I think it was a bigger game for them than it was for the Vikings. I mean, for the 49ers.
I'm actually going to say this says more about the 49ers because what did we talk about? I believe it may have been last Tuesday as well when we talked about the Browns and the 49ers. The Browns able to beat the 49ers in that game. I said we finally got to see the 49ers not be 50 steps ahead of every other NFL team. Deebo Samuel got hurt, then CMC got hurt. Trent Williams was banged up in that game. Now with no Trent Williams and no Deebo, CMC was in this game, however. We got to see exactly what another rendition of what the 49ers looked like without being 50 steps ahead of every single NFL team. Those Brock Purdy interceptions, which I'm going to throw right now for our YouTube audience, they were bad interceptions. This first one, who knows what exactly he was looking at, what sort of timing route he was trying to find, but it was just a complete whiff on the play. That was directly into the hands of Cameron Bynum for his first interception. And in the second one, with about 35 seconds left, he tries to step up in the pocket to make some magic happen, and you just got to throw that away. I understand you don't have any timeouts left and the clock is ticking, but at least be safe with the ball. That's something Brock Purdy has always done. So he was keeping the ball right in harm's way. So it was not a great game from Brock Purdy, and that's the first thing. Early in his career, and actually throughout most of his career thus far, we haven't seen Brock Purdy when it matters most, in crunch time or exactly when the stakes are the highest. So, what have we seen for the past two games? Let's bring up the stats. So this season, when leading or tied, Brock Purdy is a top 5, if not top 3, if not the best quarterback when leading or tied. When he's trailing, which he rarely has done because the 49ers have been so far ahead of every single NFL team when it comes to talent, he's very, very bad. Someone actually say awful. Sub 60% completion percentage, 1 touchdown to 2 picks, and a 72 passer rating. What about just in the fourth quarter of these past 2 games versus the first 5 this season? Once again, phenomenal quarterback in the first 5 games in the fourth quarter. The past 2 against the Browns defense, which albeit is a great defense, but what about the Vikings, who actually have a middle-of-the-road defense and not a very good defense, held by Pro Football Focus to rank 17th? Yeah, hasn't been too good. 39% completion percentage, 0 touchdowns to 2 picks, a passer rating of 18.4. If you spiked the ball every single play in an entire game, you would have had a higher passer rating. You've actually about doubled the passer rating that Brock Purdy had if you just decided to spike the ball. Yards per pass, he goes from 8.9 in the first 5 games in the fourth quarter to now under 5. Minutes trailing, he didn't trail a single second in the first 5 games. The past 2 games, he's trailed for nearly 21 minutes. So I think this actually says a lot about what the 49ers have going because we talked about it, I think we could both agree. On this team, Brock Purdy, even before these 2 games, Brock Purdy was the weakest link on that team. If they were to either lose in the playoffs or lose in the Super Bowl, it would be because Brock Purdy didn't step up. And now we're seeing sort of what Brock Purdy looks like when the stakes are the highest, when he needs to be the one to make the play, not dish it off to a guy named Deebo Samuel or CMC and have him run 55 yards. It was him. It was up to him to try to make the plays, and in this game, at least, he just couldn't get it done.
Well, those are interesting stats. I think it does say something about Brock Purdy, and he is a young quarterback. He hasn't played that many games. He's been fortunate to have a lot of weapons around him. 2 of them are missing right now, and he's facing a little bit of adversity, and he seems to be having a tougher time with it, right?
Yeah.
You see that in the last 2 games when he's playing from behind. Maybe he's panicking a little bit. He's not used to that situation, so it's a growing experience for him. He's got to get used to that and play like he plays when they're ahead, when they're behind, and hope for the best.
Right. I'll say this. I will give props to the Vikings, though. They have the 31st graded pass rush defense. But the fact that what we've seen without Trent Williams and have this offensive line decline as fast as it did with the 49ers from being a top 3 to now middle of the road, if even that, and you take out Trent Williams, and what does this become? This becomes a pretty bad offensive line. Brock Purdy got pressured slightly more than Kirk Cousins did. Then that's where he threw his 2 interceptions. So I'm going to say this right now. I talked about it last season when people were comparing Brock Purdy to like Tom Brady and Kurt Warner. I said, slow your roll. This kid's played in like 5 games. He's on one of the best teams in the NFL, if not the deepest team. We got to chill. We got to wait to see if stuff hits the fan. Can he step up and perform? And I think these past 2 weeks against a not great defense that the Vikings have, and albeit the Browns have a very good defense, although Gardner Minshew just dropped 36 points on them. So I don't know how you want to compare those 2 defenses. However, when stuff hits the fan, we need to see Brock Purdy perform. And now we're exactly seeing that Brock Purdy isn't as great of a quarterback as people were thinking. Maybe we overestimated him because of the fact he has Debo and CMC and George Kittle, Brandon Ayuk. Ray McLeod is a valuable asset to that team. You have Trent Williams. Yeah, he has so many. That team has so many pieces that I think it would be easy for a lot of quarterbacks to be successful. And Brock Purdy right now, at least in the past 2 games, he's looked pretty bad. And I think that's fine to say because yes, he is a young quarterback, but he didn't perform. We have to see it how it is.
I'd say a couple more things on the Vikings side. I said it said more about them. Their resilience, they played without Justin Jefferson.
Yeah.
They adjusted their game plan, threw a lot more to Hawkinson. He had 11 catches. Kirk Cousins had almost 400 yards passing.
Yeah.
So I think they stepped up in this game. They knew it was a must-win, and they came through.
Absolutely.
And the other thing I'd say about the 49ers, the defense didn't really come up, play like it has in the past few games,
That's
right?
fair.
It's not the 49ers. Fair. I mean, the Vikings don't have the greatest offensive line out there, huh? So how come the 49ers let them march up and down the field like they did?
That is a great question.
I don't. What'd you think about the 49ers defense?
I was surprised at the fact that it really... I think Kirk Cousins handled the pressure much better than Brock Purdy did. He got the ball out quick. That's a big thing. And I'll say this: Kirk Cousins may be one of the worst primetime quarterbacks. Daniel Jones, I think, is slightly worse. He's the 1-12 record in primetime. Daniel Jones is. Kirk Cousins is slightly better. This was a phenomenal game. He showed up. He stepped up in this game, and when his team needed him to perform, he performed.
Weapon.
And yeah, he didn't have Justin Jefferson, which honestly, both teams didn't have their best weapon on offense.
Yeah.
I would say the 49ers run game is significantly better. Christian McCaffrey or Alexander Madison? Who would you rather have? Seriously.
I think McCaffrey.
George Kittle or TJ Hawkinson? Which one would you rather have? You would rather have Hawkinson. Yeah. Interesting.
You know what? He wasn't on the Patriots initially?
TJ Hawkinson? No.
Yeah, I thought he was drafted by the Patriots.
No.
Are you sure?
I'll look it up for you right now, but I do not think TJ Hawkinson was drafted by the New England Patriots. No, Detroit Lions. Was it?
Oh, really?
In the 2019 draft.
Hey, the Patriots had somebody with a name similar to that. I guess I'm wrong on that one. Sorry.
Speaking about Kirk Cousins, on 3rd down, right? 3rd down, a crucial down. It's either you punt or you continue your drive. Kirk Cousins against the 49ers, against this defense, 61% 3rd down percentage. So we went 8 of 13 on 3rd down, 9 of 12 completion percentage. What percentage? I can't do quick math. That's 75% completion percentage, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, a 156.3 passer rating. The highest you could possibly have is 158.3. So he was 2 ticks off of being perfect on 3rd down. So this defense really didn't stop Kirk Cousins. Like you said, he had nearly 400 yards passing.
San Francisco's defense has been really good this year.
Right.
They weren't so good last week, and they weren't so good this week.
I would say last week you hold the Browns to 19 points. Although PJ Walker, drove them up the field, allowed them to score, and then Brock Purdy late in the game couldn't come through. Those interceptions though, to have 2 interceptions in a 5-minute span, that kills you. Now, are we gonna blame this to pressure and being a young quarterback? Here's the thing. with a lot of quarterbacks in Brock Purdy's position, second year, well, technically this is like, he's played 5 regular season games last season. Now we're through 7. He's not even really through a full season yet of his career. However, because of the 2 playoff wins, because he was this close if he was healthy to potentially making the Super Bowl, because we give him the Kurt Warner and the Tom Brady comparison, and Steve Young saying he has some of the intangibles of a Patrick Mahomes, I think we are allowed to put a big spotlight on this kid and say, yeah, this is not a good performance. I mean,
I'll say this, as I've said with many other players.
Small sample size.
Small sample size, exactly right. 2 games.
When you get compared to 2 Hall of Famers, one that's the greatest quarterback of all time, and one that had maybe the greatest offense in a season in NFL history, I say there's a massive spotlight on you, and you need to perform when you're called. When your number is called, you got to perform. But the question we always had was, he's never really been trailing because his team is so good. They get out to an early lead and they just hold it. When are we going to see when Brock Purdy and this team cannot, have this lead and they need to come back? And basically throughout this entire game, the Vikings had the lead. So we had to see Brock Purdy step in, make the throws, make the big time plays. Okay, and in this game he couldn't.
Last week against the Browns, the missed field goal beat him.
There wasn't. Yeah,
they could have won the game with a made field goal, and then nobody would have said it was a big deal of how he played in the game last week because they would have won.
Fair.
This week they lost, and I agree that last interception sealed their fate. So we'll see what happens next week.
The 49ers next week, they go up against the Cincinnati Bengals. That's going to be a phenomenal game. Joe Burrow having his first, I would say, real competition. I mean, the Seahawks he played a week or 2 ago. That was an interesting game. I think this game shows, are the Bengals primed now to make another deep playoff run? If the 49ers just wipe them off the face of the earth, then we know they may be there, but they're not, up to the standard that the rest of the NFL, the rest of the AFC at least is. If you're talking about the Bills, the Bills just had a bad loss. We'll talk about that next. But the Ravens or the Chiefs. So we'll have to wait and see. But not a good loss for the 49ers and for Brock Purdy. But you know what? I think the spotlight's only going to get brighter if we keep, questioning if Brock Purdy really is, the long-term solution to quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, if you want to check out the full episode, make sure you click the I in the top right-hand corner right now. If you want to listen to this show anywhere you go, make sure you go to anchor.fm/The Harvey Hour or anywhere you get your podcasts.